Hey YouTube, I'm Brad Browning, breakup coach and best-selling author. I'm here, of course, to help you get through a breakup and get a second chance with your ex, assuming that's what you want. But we're not going to talk about you today. Today we're going to be talking about your ex, and specifically about the stages that they go through after the breakup. Now, I know that this is a topic that's been covered by other breakup YouTube channels already, and some of those videos are actually pretty good, but I do think that they leave out some of the key stages, so I wanted to make my own video on this topic based on what I've learned over my 14 years as a breakup coach. Because really, it's just so important to consider what's going on in your ex's head after the breakup. You know, it all comes down to your ex's emotional and mental state, and depending on where they are and what they're feeling, you do need to treat them differently if you want to connect with them again. So if you do want your ex back, you need to be aware of this stuff, or you do risk scaring them off and ending up alone. So let's talk about those stages that your ex goes through after a breakup. Now, of course, these are not set in stone. Every person in every breakup is a bit different after all. But fundamentally, most people go through these stages roughly in this order. So let's get into it, starting with stage 1, acceptance. So acceptance actually happens typically before the breakup, or essentially before you know about the breakup. So basically your ex, and I'm assuming here that they ended it, or that they were at least, the main driver behind the breakup, before they decided to pull the plug, they had to realize and accept that this breakup was coming. That it was the only path forward in life that they could feel good about. Now, they don't feel happy about this decision, but on some level, they've already made it and are already working towards, taking the steps necessary, even if they're still in the process of accepting it. Now, this is going to be a time of intense emotional turmoil for them. You might have noticed that their emotions kind of swung wildly right before the breakup. Often first they're distant and touchy, and then they're loving and kind, and then they're angry and spoiling for a fight. And this is because, they're fighting this internal battle and they can't talk to you about it, obviously, because, they don't want to admit that they want to break up just yet. Now, if you are watching this video, then the acceptance stage for you is over. Obviously, your ex has made their choice, so why does it matter? Well, it turns out that some later stages actually have a lot in common with stage 1. And so if you can recognize how your ex was acting, then you're going to be able to use that information to help get your ex back. But first comes stage 2, and that is relief. Now, this one is the initial stage that your ex goes through after the breakup. Now, think about relief in the most simple definition of the word. You feel it when you've been experiencing some kind of hardship. I think of it like, when you have a cold and your nose is plugged. Now, eventually, you'll get used to that feeling. You'll just accept it and just, breathe through your mouth. But then suddenly a moment comes when, your sinuses open up and you can breathe again. That's that feeling of relief. You didn't know the extent of your suffering really until you actually felt that relief. And this is what your ex feels like when they initially break up with you. Of course, this is tough to hear, because you feel like you're the cause of your ex's suffering, like you were a burden and now they feel better not being with you. But the truth is, you weren't the burden here. The burden was that stress that they felt about the breakup. They didn't want to lose you or hurt you, but they knew that they had to. And that creates, immense mental and emotional stress. And in fact, the more they care about you, the worse this can be. Because the more they care, the less they want to hurt you. And so the more relieved they'll feel, knowing that they've gone through the hardest part and they no longer have it hanging over their head. Now, you might understand this if you've ever, had to let someone go from a job or tell someone really any kind of bad news. It doesn't mean that you suddenly don't like this person. It's still just as hard as it would have been a week ago. Knowing that you're hurting them is the really horrible part. So once they say the words and they walk out of that room and they pack their stuff and they go their way, there's a sense of relief that they just accomplished this difficult task. This thing that they've probably been thinking about for weeks, maybe even months. And so this feeling of relief also comes with a lot of guilt. They still feel guilty for hurting you, and they feel guilty for feeling relieved that it's over. It's definitely a complicated feeling. And typically this stage is marked by a sort of celebration, depending on the person anyways. Now, of course, they're not going to have a party and hit a piñata that's shaped like you, but they are going to have this burst of relief, this burst of happiness. And so it might seem like they're doing better than they should be. Because as we've talked about, they've been coming to this decision for a while, and so they're going to be ahead of you when it comes to mourning the breakup, because you didn't see it coming like they did for obvious reasons. So this is where you may see your ex fall into old patterns. Maybe they're partying all the time, going to clubs, posting stories, maybe taking vacations and trips with their friends. For some of them, they'll rush into a new relationship just seeking that dopamine hit. And it's both a genuine expression of their new freedom, and it's an attempt to kind of push away some of the negative feelings that are coming for them in the later stages, along with that guilt. But that relief stage is not going to last forever. Now, it will vary from person to person depending on the length of your relationship, but it's typically, a week to a month. And it's rarely going to last longer than a couple of months. And then it's on to stage 3. And stage 3 is intrigue. So the thing about breaking up is that it's actually a bit of an ego boost for the dumper, even if they don't want to admit it, because they know how much they liked you and cared about you. They know how good the relationship was, even if they decided ultimately it wasn't right. So by walking away, they're kind of confirming to themselves, hey, I have options. I can turn down something that was good but not great, and I can go out there and find something better. Because they know that if they came to you right now and said, hey, I changed my mind, I was too hasty, let's work on the relationship, that you'd just say, yes, absolutely, let's do this. So they are right. They do have options, and that has value for them. So where does the intrigue or curiosity come in? Well, it happens if you do take my advice and you cut contact with your ex following the breakup. If you stay strong, you don't come crawling back begging for another chance, you don't hang around as their friend or as a shoulder to cry on and embarrass yourself for scraps of their attention, then they're going to be surprised. Because on some level, since they feel this ego boost, this sense that they're valuable because they have options, they're expecting you to come running back to them. And then when you don't, they're going to start to wonder what's going on. Instead of attention, you've given them silence. And this makes them really uncertain about if they are as attractive, as valuable, as victorious as they really thought. They wonder, if you even still care about them and whether you miss them. See, as human beings, we always look for patterns because patterns make things efficient. When we recognize a pattern, we go, I understand this part of the world, of my life. And so I can stop thinking about it. I can let go and I can start focusing on other things. Even if you can't solve a problem, if you can at least understand it, you can put it down and just stop obsessing over it. So your ex had this one indicator that they were valuable and they had options when they ended the relationship. And then if you had kept chasing after them, it would have confirmed it for them. That would constitute a pattern for them, and so they'd feel more able to just move on and start dating again. But by ignoring them, you've denied them that pattern. So essentially, you're causing disorder in your ex's life. Of course, they don't like this, and so this is going to make them curious about you and what you're up to. They want that confirmation that you actually miss them and that you're miserable without them, just so they can go, I was right, I'm the bomb. So with that in mind, they're going to start to wonder about you. The intrigue phase is typically marked with things like them, watching your social media stories or talking to mutual friends and people about you, just to kind of see where you've been, how you've been doing, and how you're actually handling the breakup. They want to know why you haven't said anything to them. Now, sometimes in the intrigue phase, they may send you a text or two. But remember, you don't want to take the bait and confirm their feelings. You want to keep them unmoored from reality so that they can't have that validation and that closure. So those first couple of texts from your ex, you should just usually ignore. It's your ex. They're just trying to figure out where you stand. You need to show them that you're moving on and that you're no longer desperate for that second chance. That sense of distance and aloofness will show your ex that you're not desperate, and that's going to be attractive to them because they want to know why. What's your secret? And if you never answer that question, then they're going to end up at the next stage, stage 4. But sometimes your ex will become stuck in stage 3 and never really move forward. Now, if you find yourself in that kind of place, please go to breakupbrad.com/coaching and sign up for my very affordable one-on-one coaching program. Because I have seen this scenario happen again and again, and I can help you put together a plan to get them on to stage 3 and beyond so that you can actually start to reconnect with them. Again, just go to breakupbrad.com/coaching to sign up and begin working with me one-on-one. Now, stage 4, worry. So stage 4 is probably the most critical part of your ex's breakup journey, and I'll tell you why. See, until your ex is actually worried, like truly afraid of losing you, you're never going to get them back. Because they're essentially on a journey back to you, even if they don't actually know it yet. As they climb that staircase from acceptance to relief, to curiosity, to worry, and then on to fear, they're getting closer and closer to just coming to you and saying, I screwed up, I still love you, take me back. In fact, they're already having those feelings in stage 3 and 4. Not seriously, but they're daydreaming about it here and there, and they realize how good it would feel just to give in. But if you chase after them, you're going to kick them right back down into stage 2 again, and they'll be further away from you than ever. They'll realize, hey, I'm actually pretty relieved not to feel that pressure, not to be beholden to this person who I'm not sure if I even want to be with. The good news is that right now, even though they may feel far away, if you're keeping your distance, in reality, they're closer than ever because their mindset is starting to shift. A week or two ago, they felt completely certain that if they wanted to, they could come back to you and get you back in an instant. And now they're thinking, well, maybe you're moving on. You're certainly acting like it. And this is the point where it starts to hit home that, oh no, maybe I'll lose this person forever. Maybe I already have. Remember, you were the source of your ex's joy. You were their source of love, their validation, all the things that they started to take for granted. And they thought that would always be there if they needed it. So really, I think of it this way. Your love was like the sun, and your ex is like a house plant. You put a plant next to the window, and it gets that sunlight it needs and thrives, right? But the breakup is like winter's coming. The sun's not quite as bright. Sometimes it's hidden behind the clouds, and the plant starts to miss that sun. It's turning its leaves towards the sun, opening up more and more to try and get any sunlight that it can. And that is exactly what's going to happen during this phase. Your ex knows that your love is going away, so they're leaning towards you. They're reaching out and trying to get it back, at least in a passive way. They've realized that they need it for their emotional happiness and stability, because you deprive them of the nutrients that they needed, and everything that you offer is going to seem more valuable to them. They'll really start to appreciate you and miss you because of that fear of losing it forever. Essentially, you two are actually coming together. You're both afraid of losing the other person. You both want to try to connect, but you're afraid and maybe you don't know how. And this is when they may start to take more action to get you back, or at the very least be more receptive and actually make an effort to connect with you. So you do need to pay attention to these types of signs. They may start to contact you more and more, and this is where you might get more consistent texts or phone calls. They may even start to set dates with you or ask to talk to you or get together. But again here, you still need to resist and keep your distance, because during this phase, they're doing this for the wrong reasons. They're not trying to connect with you to build something real, to try again. And this is something that you will realize if you start to give them that love and attention that they're seeking. You'll realize that they've started to appreciate you more, but they haven't yet changed their mind. So really, they're just trying to use you without really promising anything. And it may even be really intense. Sometimes when they start leaning into you, it may feel like they're putting pressure on you. They might start even getting a little bit angry or upset, asking, why are you ignoring them? What did they do wrong? Because remember, they're all mixed up right now. They're thrown out of their routine and they're trying to restore some order. They want things to go back to normal for their own selfish emotional reasons. They want to put you back in a place where they know that they're safe and that they could get you back if they really wanted to. But again, you need to still keep your distance. You need to still act indifferent. You need to be moving slowly and allowing them to go through that emotional struggle as they try to earn back your time, your love, and your affection. Now, I will say that sometimes in stage 4, even if it isn't their intention, people will reconnect and restart their relationship. And that is amazing. Of course, if that love is strong enough and circumstances are right, it can even happen in stage 2, but it's not as likely as it will be if you wait until the next stage, and that is stage 5, doubt. Now, this is where your ex is starting to weigh all the pros and cons of being broken up with you now that they've had, the perspective of being apart from you. Maybe they went into a rebound and it didn't work out. Maybe they're still in that rebound and they're starting to compare you to this new person and, they're not exactly happy with what they find. So now they start to doubt their decision. They're thinking, did I choose the wrong person? Did I take the wrong path? And again, when your ex is starting to doubt, they'll start to take more action, but this time it's going to feel different. It's going to be, usually a calmer approach, because they're starting to really think about the breakup critically. They're starting to think about it deeper and realize that maybe they're not perfect. Maybe they're not the winner and you're not the loser. Maybe, because you've been acting confident and you've been working on yourself and you're not so desperate, maybe their life would actually be better off with you in it. And now all of a sudden, you start to get better and better offers from them. It's no longer breadcrumbs and hot and cold treatment. They may not be all the way there, but they are trying to come at you honestly and consistently. And it's going to be more positive because they're trying to be on your good side. And that, of course, is where you want them to be. You want them to be chasing you. And to me, this is when you need to start to respond to them in a more significant way. Give them a little attention and let them come to you more and more. But don't accept any bad behavior here. Show them that you still respect yourself, but that you are willing to connect with them if they're willing to make the effort. So start meeting with them more and more and build that bond. And before you know it, you're going to be back together just the way you want it. And that's all because you stuck to the plan and let them come to you, at least for the most part. But if you keep blowing them off, then they will move into the 6th and final stage, and that is regret. This is when your ex knows for sure that they've missed their shot with you. All they feel is that regret in the pit of their stomach that they just can't shake. They screwed up a good thing, and now they have to live with that. And that's the difference between stage 5 and stage 6. In the 5th stage, they still have hope that they can reconnect, and that's important. That hope is going to fuel your new relationship together because it represents that the connection is still alive. In stage 6, they've resigned to losing you. So they're gonna lose hope and stop trying to reconnect. Yes, they're probably going to be sad, but they're also going to start to move on. Now, you may still be able to catch them during this time, but to me, often it's not worth the risk here. So when you do finding your ex falling off and leaving you alone, then you'll know that they're probably in stage 6. And the problem is that now they're starting to get down in the dumps. They're starting to get maybe bitter and resentful of the whole thing. This experience has hurt their self-esteem, which is going to actually hurt their ability to connect with other people, including you, because they'll be less sure of themselves and what they want and deserve. So that does it for this video, guys. Remember that your ex's mental state is the deciding factor in all of this, so you need to focus on that first and foremost if you're going to have any chance of getting them back. Thanks for watching to the end. Please like this video and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Bye.